I'm Nancy Norman with Weekly Wisdom, Thoughts on Truth. And I want to share a few things with you before we get started. We're going to be spending the next 3 to 4 weeks on prosperity because that happens to be one of my favorite subjects. And I know that some of you may want to continue with further study, and I want to recommend a couple of good books. One, and one of my favorites, is The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity by Catherine Ponder. It's a wonderful book and filled with spirituality and ideas about prosperity. The other one is The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. It's a classic. And then, of course, we have our Florence Scovel Shinn, The Game of Life and How to Play It, which we're using in this series that we are now involved with. So we'll be spending several more weeks on prosperity, we're going to go into this with a very open mind because so many of us have been brought up with ideas that no longer apply to us, that may have some false ideas about prosperity. In Deuteronomy 8:18, we read, "But remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth." And then from Luke 12:32, it says, "Do not be afraid, little flock. It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." Do not be afraid. It is your Father's good pleasure, it's God's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. So the Bible is filled with priceless promises for that sense of well-being and wealth and the beauty of life. It's filled with promises of the good life. As a beloved child of God, we should be prosperous and we should have an abundance of all good. It's our divine heritage. Our beautiful Creator wants us to prosper. Now, prosperity means different things to different people. And so I just want to share with you what prosperity means to me. It means a sense of well-being in every area of my life. A sense of well-being in every area of my life. That means health. Prosperity means health and wholeness, vitality and energy in mind, in body, in soul. Prosperity means that sense of well-being, of happiness and joy. That sense of well-being in loving relationships with my friends and my family, my neighbors, my co-workers. Prosperity is that sense of well-being in success, in a sense of self-esteem, of self-confidence. And yes, prosperity also means financial good and money. So many of us have a bit of trouble with wanting to prosper. We have some subconscious messages that we received through the years that have hampered our lives today. So let us once and for all get rid of all those old ideas about money, about prosperity, about wealth that have been passed down from generation to generation to generation, from one family to another family to another family. Let us simply wipe the slate clean. I've heard over and over people say, well, you know, it's a virtue to be poor. No, that's not it. Or often they will tell me things, misquote Bible verses. They will say, well, you know what they say, money is the root of all evil. That's a misquote, an untruth. In reality, that comes from 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10, and it says, "For the love of money is the root of all evil." When we love money more than God, we're going to get in trouble. But when we rely on God as a source of our supply, when we love God, then we're going to prosper. We're going to have that sense of well-being. There'll be no lack or limitation in our lives. But if you are still functioning under those false concepts and beliefs, maybe you want to use one of Florence Scovel Shinn's affirmations. I love this one. The walls of lack and delay now crumble away, and I enter my promised land under grace. The walls of lack and delay now crumble away, and I enter my promised land under grace. So, it is your divine heritage to prosper, to have that sense of well-being in every single part of your life. By the way, that word well-being, do you know what it means? That word well-being means wealth. If you look it up in the dictionary, under wealth, it'll say well-being. So many people are afraid to ask for what they really want. They go back to the old negative ways of thinking, believing, and acting. So let's look at life differently. Let's you and I start today looking at life differently. Rather than from the victimhood point of view, let's view life a little bit differently. And know that it is God who has given us the ability to produce wealth. And it is God's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. It is God's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. There's a wonderful, wonderful affirmation it's a statement from the book from Wallace D. Wattles. And it says, the desire for riches is simply the capacity for larger life seeking fulfillment. Every desire is the effort of an unexpressed possibility to come into action. So it's all right for you to have a desire and want it to become manifest in your life. It is perfect. The desire for riches is simply the capacity for larger life seeking fulfillment. God wants you to have it. It is your divine heritage. Every desire is an effort of an unexpressed possibility come into action, to come into action. So you came into this world financed by God. All you desire or require are already on your pathway. There's nothing to fear. Fear not, little flock, for it is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Now there's an affirmation that Florence Scovel Shinn has, and I love it. It is infinite spirit, open the way for my great abundance. I am an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to me by divine right. Infinite spirit, open the way for my great abundance. I am an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to me by divine right. God bless you. It is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Have a wonderful week.